So today is a really exciting webinar for those of you who have joined us before in this series. We generally talk about ways that you can use Poly and the product as it stands today. But um, for the purposes of this end of year wrap up webinar, what we're going to be doing is giving you a sneak peek at what's coming down the road and how you could use that in your workplace. So that something that I'm really excited about. For everybody who doesn't know me, I'm Bilal Aijazi, co-founder and CEO here at Poly. That means that I do everything from product to our taxes, but the best part of my job is showcasing all the great stuff we're building and how you can use it at your organizations to help drive more purposeful engagement across your digital HQ. Now, for those of you who've been with us for years and years, we actually launched 9 years ago on Slack and specifically in channels. And over the years, we've added more and more surfaces where you can use Poly in a channel. Slack, Teams, Google Chat, and all of these places were one of the best ways to drive engagement, one of the largest apps in those ecosystems, and have great adoption across those chat interfaces. And throughout the course of remote work becoming more prevalent, how you communicate with one another across those chat interfaces became more and more important. But what we started hearing from our customers is that, hey, increasingly we're not just working in chat, but also in digital meetings. And so we expanded beyond that as well into various meeting integrations. So we have Google Meet, Zoom, obviously Teams has a meeting component as well. We added web capabilities to drop in a link and allow your teammates to use Poly wherever work is happening. And what I'm excited to share is that we didn't just stop there. We started hearing from our customers that the most important meetings, the meetings where you're trying to lay out a strategy for the future of the company, as many of us are trying to formulate our upcoming year's plans, are laid out in slide decks. That's the way that people communicate strategy, important documents. That's the way that we bring alignment across remote teams. And so we're really excited to announce that we are launching our slide integrations this year. Google Slides is actually already live, and what I'm going to be walking you through the course of the webinar today. PowerPoint is actively being developed and will be available for beta access before the end of the year. So reach out to your CSM if you're an enterprise customer. If you're not yet a customer, file a support request, and we'll make sure that we get you beta access to the features that we're showing here today across both Google Slides and PowerPoint. And ultimately, I always wanted to lay out what is the vision of Poly? Where are we trying to go? Um, and for us, Poly is working wherever work is happening. Channels, web and meetings, presentations, the web. It doesn't matter where your organization works or what tool strategy you adopt. Poly is going to be there helping you drive more engagement. And I know that we're all thinking about what a world with AI looks like in our organizations, but ultimately, work is driven by people. And we are trying to make work a little bit happier, a little bit more engaging for people, regardless of where that work is happening across your digital tool stack. And so specifically today, given that presentations are most often used in events, that's actually what we're going to be diving into is how to use Poly in your event strategy. A lot of you are already using Poly in Slack or Teams after, an all hands meeting to capture feedback on how that meeting went. We are now trying to bring Poly into the presentation layer of the meeting so that you can actually drive real-time engagement and really make that one-way discussion become a two-way discussion across your organization, regardless of what type of strategy you're communicating, or what decisions you're taking, or what kind of trainings or team building activities you're running. And then, so what we're going to do for the rest of the webinar is we're actually going to dive into our Google Slides integration. Our PowerPoint integration is going to work relatively similarly. And everything that I'm showing you is beta access product. You may not have it enabled. Again, reach out to your CSM or file a support ticket, and we'd be happy to get you beta access to some of these features. And I'm going to try and explain as I go through the product what is live today versus what is in beta. And if you have any questions along the way, we have Abida and Barbara from our accounts team alongside me here to answer any questions and to help you get on your way. All right. And always love this slide. we are already being used by over 200,000 companies in a variety of different ways. Again, channels and meetings primarily today, but my hope is by this time next year, presentations are a powerful way that all of these companies and your company are using Poly as well. All right. Let me just switch gears into our Google Slides product. Okay, so the way that we're going to walk through this next phase is we're going to walk through four different settings that you would commonly find at companies and how you might use Poly in those types of events. So there's going to be different kinds of polys. You'll see what they look like in a live setting. And there's going to be members of the team that are going to be voting on those things. But each of these slides is going to have a little QR code on the bottom left there that you can jump in and participate with as well. Please select the web. You're not part of my Slack workspace, so you're not going to be able to join if you try to go and participate via my Slack workspace. But this is part of the power of Poly is that you can engage people across multiple avenues, whether it's an external event like this one or an internal event where everybody who is going to be participating is going to be in Slack. So let's dive into this. And apologies if I'm pointed away at the screen. I'm actually looking at actually, I think I can change my camera to be looking at this screen. So let's give that a shot. Perfect. Um, so this is a Google Slides deck that I set up a little bit ahead of time. I'll walk you through what it looks like to set one of these up. First, I wanted to show you what the product looks like, and then we'll go into what the setup for this might look like alongside your Slack or Teams integration that you're already familiar with. So the first scenario that I'm going to be simulating here is a town hall meeting. We all have these with our executives, especially this time of the year. We're all gearing up for what strategy is going to look like next year. And as we lay out that strategy, one of the first things that you want to hear as a team member is like what your input is. What are people adopting from that strategy session? And a great way to do that is by running a Q&A session. So you'll see that as soon as I flip into the slide, the Q&A session populates, and we're going to start seeing the public submissions for this Q&A. If you give me just a quick second, I'm going to pull this up on my other screen while I um, get the questions resolved here. Give me just a second to take some of the great submissions that you're putting in and making them public for everyone to see. While we're waiting for that, I'll actually flip over to the next interaction modality and start looking at what initiatives we should prioritize to drive growth in the next quarter. So here, you're going to start to see these bars move in real time as more and more people are exploring. This question was a standard poly that you could set up in Slack and automatically have a presentation view attached to it that you can then drop in into a Google slide deck or coming soon into PowerPoint as well. Right. Awesome. So it looks like enhancing customer service is going to be a key one for us this year, which makes total sense with AI. And let's move into our next question type before we circle back to the Q&A. So here, one of the key things that we're all trying to figure out is what team collaboration looks like in this hybrid world. And on this type of a poly, this is called a word cloud poly, and this is a new type of poly that we've just enabled for presentation views. You're gonna be able to see what the key ideas are that people are collaborating on and collecting as you run a brainstorming session or as you're trying to find a common theme in a topic. Cool. So it looks like offsites are a really key aspect here, and I 100% agree with that. Um, so that is a very powerful way to help drive team engagement in this hybrid workplace. All right. Now let's move into the next type of session here, which is interactive training sessions. So in interactive training sessions, one of the things that we always like to understand as we're performing our trainings is to try and understand what skills people are wanting to develop. And here in an age of AI, wanting advanced technical skills makes absolute sense, and we're starting to see that. Communication presentation is critically important because you still have to communicate that strategy to everybody, and we're starting to see some spikes there as well. And one thing that you'll notice in the screen is that there is that QR code on the bottom left there, so you can participate, whether you're internal to this workspace or not. All right. Next up, let me just flip gears back into the Q&A session. I think we are ready for that now.
Bilal, we have a question around Q&A anonymity as well.
All right.
Whether,
Yeah, please go ahead.
yeah, the question that came in was whether you can submit anonymous submissions. Of course you can. Like everything else in Poly, it's customizable. It's up to the respondent whether they want to share in an anonymous or a non-anonymous submission, depending on the author of the Q&A, the setting that the author has enabled.
Exactly right. So you'll see here that actually a lot of the submissions that we got are anonymous. And I'm going to go ahead and say that, given that product is what we're talking about here, this is the question that I want to take. You can start to see upvotes on questions as well. So if I go back, I'll see that, hey, actually, are we hiring internationally is getting upvoted. Um, and I'd like to understand, hey, what is our hiring strategy? Poly actually is a fully distributed company. Uh, we have Poly members joining from 3 different countries on this call alone today. So we absolutely do hire internationally, and it's a great part of what we drink our own Kool-Aid, if you will, in terms of making sure that remote work is enabled. So, great question. I'm going to mark that as answered and then jump into the next question. What am I most excited about on the Q4 roadmap? Well, for us, it's really about getting deeper into the meeting layer of your workplace and making sure that you're using Poly not just in channels, but across the various engagement mechanisms that we've already got. Um, and there's a lot for us to do there. In fact, at the end of this presentation, I'm going to be talking a little bit about future-looking roadmap and what we are planning in the upcoming year. And we'll talk a little bit more about this then. Thanks for the question. All right. Someone's wondering if we could introduce a more advanced employee well-being support solution. This is great feedback. In fact, we actually have a Poly capability called suggestion boxes, which you could use this kind of mechanism for understanding a bit more on. While I'm walking through the presentation view, I also just want to show you all what the back end of this looks like, and I think that's going to be a great point to dive into what it looks like to configure and create some of these. So here is what it looks like. I'm going to just switch cameras here as here we go. Um, So you can see that as those questions are coming in, I can decide which questions to make public and which ones not to. I can actually choose to write text responses. So, you saw the presentation side of things, but Abida or Barbara could have jumped in and responded privately in text to folks here as well. And you can archive questions as they've been answered. And you don't even have to make questions public to be able to reply to them. In fact, if you have private questions, you can actually send a response directly via Slack. And once the Q&A is done, you'll actually get a great report that looks like this that you can export data out, show to your leadership, and understand exactly what the trends were like in the Q&As that you've been running for your team. Now, another thing that I always like to show is what does it look like when I view this in Slack. So I want to open this link in my browser, please. So you can see here, as I've been making questions public, they show up in the Slack channel. This is actually configurable. You can have them show up in a Slack thread, in the Slack channel, only on the web. It's really up to you to do whatever it is that you want to do. Um, And um, you can see all the public submissions if you're following along in Slack. And so, unlike other kind of presentation view tools, we have both the Slack and Teams experience. And I see there's a question about Zoom chat. We'll address that in a little bit as well. But we also have the presentation side of things. And so, truly, the one solution that fits across the various ways that your team is engaging is Poly. And let me just show you one more thing here while we're at it is if I want to reply to a question privately, um, and let's say I want to increase the number of folks that we're hiring across our tech teams, that person can then get a DM back to the user, get a DM back in Slack that allows them to see what it was that that moderator responded with without having to leave that Slack environment. So it's really, really powerful way of engaging your team, no matter what they prefer. You might have technical teams that prefer engaging in chat. You might have folks that are less technical and maybe they work more in email. It doesn't matter. You'll be able to engage them regardless of where work is happening. All of these things that I'm showing you, because of that QR code, have a link associated with them as well that you can drop into a channel or an email and engage people that way. Cool. Before I move on, any other questions? All right. Plans to
We
integrate with
have
Zoom chat. So a couple of questions here. Plans to integrate with Zoom chat. So we are actively looking at Zoom chat. I don't have a timeline for you here today, but it is something that we're in touch with. They're obviously on part of the part of the Zoom uh, meeting side of things, and it is something that we actively look at and are in touch with. And then plans to add conditional and dynamic polling questions. So one of the things that we actually are working on our roadmap is more question types, and definitely conditionals and dynamic are part of the additional question types. So we're going to be taking a look at. All right, let's jump right back in. If you remember, we were talking about our training seminar. So here let's jump forward just a bit. And let me switch up my camera. All right. And in what ways have you used AI at work to increase your productivity? So this is another powerful question around just how AI adoption is going at your workplace. Um, and we can see, wow, how you draft emails seems to be a real highlight here. It's definitely a key way that I use AI. In fact, a lot of the early parts of this deck and the talking tracks for this was drafted alongside with some help from ChatGPT and Notion AI, which is what we use internally. And so drafting of all kinds is key in AI workflows here. Let's keep going. So now let's see a specific example of how you might have applied AI to streamline a task or a project. Um, so customer slide decks, I have my webinar slide deck here that I applied AI to help me write the initial script and get these slides together. And so you can see here, like it's just a great way to make sure that if you're having a training session about AI and how to use AI at work, that you can make sure it's a two-way conversation and that there is a back and forth, that there is a level of engagement that's happening that makes it so much more interesting. Oh, double checking accounting is super cool. That is not something that we've seen, but I'll definitely bring that up with our finance team. All right. Now let's move into a project kickoff meeting. So let's say that we're kicking off a new project for cloud cost consolidation. We can actually drive the team together using Poly in that world as well. So, we're all in this world of doing more with less. So how do we reduce cloud costs? It looks like one of our participants really believes in negotiating better rates and optimizing current resource usage. Always a great choice when you're looking at cloud costs, something that we do ourselves here at Poly. And then, I always like to look ahead when I'm launching a project as to what risks or challenges people see are coming around the corner. So let's try and understand what our team thinks could be potential issues. Resourcing, always a problem. Um, oh, it seems like that's a recurring theme here. Everyone's looking for more budget at the end of the year. All right, moving on. Which of these cost saving measures should we implement first? Let's get into prioritization that we can do together as a team. Absolutely. We actually just right-sized our committed spend this week at Poly. We do that every November, and it's been fantastic for us in terms of bringing down our overall costs in cloud infrastructure, especially as we're building new features like these ones. Awesome. Cost monitoring dashboard. What is seen is always, what is measured is always optimized. We should make sure that we have visibility there. Excellent. So you can see that it's not just for these large events, but even small planning meetings can be made better by using Poly in a live setting and to really help drive team engagement and brainstorming across your organization. And then the final area that I wanted to dive into was holiday party engagement. But before we do that, I wanted to show you what it looks like to configure one of these things in our Slack environment. Oops. Ah, here we go. All right, so now let's jump into the Poly web application. And what you will see if you're part of our beta here is if I go into a Poly, that many Poly types will now have, this is the question that we're about to answer. We'll now have a presentation view linked in right here. So I can actually copy that pop open that presentation view. And this is actually the same view that you'll see in the Google Chrome extension. Additionally, if you want to create an open-ended question with word clouds, you just click this button and that's it. It's super easy. With our Chrome extension for Google Slides, you can actually then select one of those things. So let's show you what that looks like. Once I've created it, I can select it. So I'm going to stop here and I can just add a poly. And you can see all of my Q&As, my multiple choice, and my word cloud type poly types are now showing up in Google Chrome. And I can just add a custom slide that has that poly associated with it. And our PowerPoint extension is going to work quite similarly as well. And now let's actually get to the fun part, which is the question itself. So in which country did the tradition of a Christmas tree originate? Norway and Germany. More Germany here. All right, that's what I would have guessed because I know Santa Claus is also German. And as it turns out, that is the correct answer. It is Germany. All right, let's keep moving. We can have an ugly sweater contest right here in Google Slides. So we've got 4 sweaters here. And I'm going to give everybody a second to scan the QR code on this page. So you can scan the QR code. And I'm going to hop back in here. One of the most popular feature requests that we have on Poly is image polls, and this is a great way to be able to do those without having to like embed the image directly in the Poly. All right, hopefully you've made your selection, and it looks like it's contestant 3. I can see that. The SpongeBob, either you love it or hate it, I guess. All right, and then as we're looking to a new year, we all have hopes and dreams for what that year is going to bring. There's lots going on in the world. This has obviously been a heavy week in the United States, as well as a heavy week for the world, a heavy year for the world. And I can see there's lots of different ideas here for what people want to see in the new year. These are great fodder for icebreakers and for just getting to know your teammates better. And you can run this at a whole company level or with your own individual teams. And that's one of the powerful things about Poly is that it doesn't matter what scale you're operating at, but Poly's there for you, whether it's a three-person team stand-up all the way up to a company-wide event. All right. And that was it in terms of our Google Slides integration. Um, if you have any questions around that, feel free to pop them into the chat. But before we let you go, I wanted to also just highlight what we are building in the year ahead. We have a quick question. Can you invite people to Poly via QR code, outside people? Absolutely. Our meeting integrations and PowerPoint integrations fully support bringing in folks from anybody. And all polys that you create in Slack or Teams can also have a link attached to them that you can distribute outside your Slack or Teams. So Poly is very much not only for internal, but also for external events. Great question. So looking ahead, there's really three areas that I wanted to highlight. Number one is, everything that we showed you had a Poly logo attached to it and had the Poly colors on it. We have heard you loud and clear that your corporations have put a ton of work into their branding and you want to bring that branding to life in your slide decks and in your Polys. So we'll be giving you the ability to customize that and make it look like your organization's colors and branding and logos across all kinds of polys. This is going to happen not just in presentation views, but also in the web views that you can associate with Slack or Teams polys. So look for that. It's going to be an admin feature that you can go ahead and enable across your company. And it's something that we're incredibly excited about as we enter this world of presentations because we know that it's super important for you to be on brand for your company. We'll also have more poly types across the different surfaces that we operate on. Somebody asked earlier about conditional poly types, and we do support things like ranked choice questions. We'll be adding those to presentation views as well. And then finally, deeper meeting integrations. So our meeting integrations across Teams, Zoom, and Google Meet are great to get started with. We actually just recently launched AI-enabled icebreakers on our Teams integration. We're going to be looking to bring that into our other meeting integrations and into our Slack and Teams channel-based integrations as well. As always, if you are an enterprise customer, you can control that AI rollout. Talk to your CSM, and we can make sure that we disable it for you until it's vetted by your appropriate teams. But we're also starting to dip our toes into that world as well, where you can speed up content generation and creation, especially as you try to create these more engaging events with AI in hand. Lots here. There's going to be a lot more in between these giant pillars as well. But we're super excited about the future of Poly. We're so grateful for you for using Poly today, and we think there's going to be a lot more great stuff for you to use in the years to come. Thank you so much.
Bilal, we have two more questions.
For
Loving
sure.
the questions that are coming in. So first one is it a new QR code per question, or can there be an ongoing QR code for 2+ questions?
At the moment, it is a single QR code per question. We are looking at the capability of adding a single QR code per session. So for like a single deck, having the same QR code persist across different poly types. That's great feedback and something that we are aware of, and we're going to be working to improve.
The other question is from Geraldine. When will customization of presentation views be rolled out?
Yeah, we didn't share a date yet. Early 2025 is the plan right now. It's not going to be before the end of this year, but very early in the next year is when we are planning to push this. We know it's a priority for folks to make sure that their presentations are on brand, and we want to make sure that that's possible ASAP.
Another one. Are you going to have embed capability in other places like Notion?
That's a great question. Embed capabilities are certainly something that we want to do. I can't commit to a timeline on it today, but it is in line with the theme that we have of making sure Poly available everywhere.
That's all the questions that we had.
Fantastic. I just want to say thank you again for this journey that you're on with us. It has been a long time coming to bring Poly to more places and to have more ways for your teams to use Poly. We are so, so grateful to be able to put this in your hands. A lot of the features that I showed you today are in beta, specifically things like word clouds. If you want access to it, again, reach out to your account team or file a ticket on our support website. So you could do just email contact@poly.ai or go to poly.ai/help and file a ticket, and we will make sure that we get you beta access so you can try these features out. If you are waiting for PowerPoint, we actually have a PowerPoint waitlist. We will drop a link in the chat right now to help you get there. Um, Barbara or Abida, I would love if you guys could do that while I'm talking here. Um, and yeah, a lot of these things are going to be staged rollouts. So if it's something that you want to prioritize, we are happy to get you in there. Excellent, folks. Really appreciate your time. Thank you for being on this journey with us. It's been a great 2024 here at Poly, and we are looking forward to an even more amazing 2025 as we roll this stuff out for you.